In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to find the least common multiple and the greatest common factor. The least common multiple is defined as the smallest number that two numbers will divide into, and the greatest common factor is the biggest number that will divide into two numbers. And so the first step that we're going to do when we're trying to find the LCM and the GCF, which is just the abbreviations for them, is to find the prime factorizations for each of the values that we're working with. So if we're going to find the LCM and GCF for 27 and 90, first we're going to find our prime factorizations. So 27, we know we can get 27 by taking 9 times 3. And 3 is a prime number, so that can't be factored any further. 9 we can factor further into 3 times 3. So 27 is equal to 3 times 3 times 3. And then if we do this same thing for 90, we know we can multiply 9 times 10 to get 90. And the 10 we can factor further into a 2 times a 5, which are both prime numbers that can't be factored any further. And then the 9 again can be factored into 2 3s. So 90 is equal to 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. And so that's the first step for finding the LCM and GCF. And now it'll help us out if we write these a little bit differently so we can see our groupings. So I'm just going to rewrite what we just found over here. And I'm just going to, so that they're all in the same column, so we can see what groups and what's similar between the two. So it's just rewritten. And in order to find the LCM, we look back at our definition and we know it's the smallest number that two numbers will divide into. So the LCM is going to be the product of all of the factors that we found. So for this problem, if it's the product of all of them, we're just going to take all of our values. So we're going to have 2 times 3 times 3 times 3, because we had 3 3's, and then we have 1 5. So this gives us 270 for our LCM. And now if we find the greatest common factor, the greatest common factor is going to be the product of the shared factors. So only the factors that are similar between our two numbers will be multiplied here. And so if we look at the little columns that I drew, we can see that the two sets of 3's are common between the two, so it's going to be 3 times 3 or 9. So that is how you find the least common multiple and greatest common factor for those two values. And we can use the least common multiple in other situations also, because it is helpful for finding a common denominator when you're adding and subtracting fractions. So if we look at the fractions that are being added below, we need to find a common denominator before we can combine them. So if we look at 12, we know that that's 3 times 4. 3 is prime. 4 can be factored into 2 and 2, which will be prime. So 12 is equal to 2 times 2 times 3. And then 18 will factor into a 6 times a 3. The 3 is prime. And the 6 will be factored into a 2 times a 3. And so 18 is equal to 2 times 3 times 3. So our LCM, again, is the product of all of the factors. So between these two numbers, we have 2 2's and 2 3's to give us an LCM of 36. And so that's what our new common denominator is going to be. So if we come over here and rewrite this, in order to go from 12 to 36 for our denominator here, we're going to have to multiply the first fraction by 3, which gives us 15 in the numerator. And in order to get 36 for the denominator of our second fraction, we're going to multiply by 2, which will give us 14 for the second fraction, giving us a final answer of 29 over 36. So that is how you would use the least common multiple and greatest common factor to solve problems.